Okay, so this is a 5-point checklist for perform for the RDL. This one you need to take special attention to. First, watch the conventional deadlift first video to get the basic points here, but not only those review for the RDL, but there's a lot more extra pieces to this that are absolutely more critical. It's an amazing exercise, does amazing stuff with posture and positions, and if you think about what it's challenging in people's posture, that's why it's so amazing, because if you can do a good RDL correctly, you have less limitations and imbalances in your body. Considering immobile ankles, tight hamstrings, poor posture, low back, name it, this really brings it all together nicely. So that being said, it's also can be completely dangerous to people if they're doing it wrong. So that's why we have to really respect this checklist and reinforce to them what to do correctly and when to regress and change the exercise around and what pieces to add, and what other exercises we can do to help develop this, like say a hyperextension. So going through the checklist again, let's get a quick look at these pictures now. Looking at a nice flat back position, postural position, or the waiter's bow version there, obviously going a little bit lower. There's the toe touch postural, and why we build this wax on, wax off from day one, developing those positions right off the bat and not rounding and humping forward. Likewise, the hyperextension is a great way to lock in the piece from lumbar spine all the way through the arches there. It really forces the issue there. It's a good cheat. And if we do a hybrid version, say on one leg, God forbid, there's nothing different there. So if I took the leg out, it looked like she's got two legs on the ground. The back's not twisting and rotating around. It is perfectly arched in, a nice flat back position there, either forward. She's got perfect balance dialed in for that. Likewise, this is a picture of a dumbbell deadlift here. Guy's got a perfect back position. A bit too much knee bending going on for my taste there. But again, just reinforcing that all these positions are universal. So looking from the top down, remember the postural position first. Go ahead and hit that for me. Man, that's going to be there entire time. He's going to get that position when he sets up for every single set or rep. But first I'm going to look at his feet. And so looking at this is a unique one. They go hip to shoulder width, but you notice based on hip width and femur length, some people are more comfortable with a wider stance because it allows their hip to move more free and clear. If they're too narrow on this, bring your feet inside the hips, it really closes this up to where his hips can't move too well. And he's going to round much sooner in that low back area than what he normally would if you open his hips. And he could allow his tailbone to get into a more comfortable space there, getting the hips back versus here it closes it off and then just going to round a lot sooner. So opening that up so where you can set that into place there, and you can just sit that back and get that pelvic tilt going correctly. So if he's got tight hamstring, that's going to cause that rounding. I'm going to cue it if I have to, but we know if he's got tight hamstrings, a little more even. It's hard to fix when they're down there, so come up and reset and come down, and tune it there. All right, not bad. They come up, but we're getting ahead of ourselves there. So with the stance there, find the optimal position that works with their hips correctly. So in general, definitely RDLs are not a sumo stance whatsoever ever. That would be minus a point. Too narrow would also be minus a point because he can't control his hips well. So a nice neutral stance would say feet straight down from the hips, or maybe a hair wider than if necessary for the person. Test it out and see what works. So again, it would be minus a point if any deviations there. Next, his center of gravity going to his toes. That's the first way to mess this exercise up. So looking from the ground up, feet, knees, hips, spine, eyes, etc. Take an inventory of what is going wrong. His toes, if he goes into his toes, that's going to destroy every single piece on the chain upstream here, let's say. So, so first he finds his optimal stance. He digs in the heels, and so now he can put force into the ground against the load here and keep all these positions locked in. Also keeps the center of gravity back into the hips and legs there to full correctness. So they go forward, I'm right here. So he goes heels in, cue the toes up. He goes in the toes, minus 1 point. Next, looking at the knees, again, are they tracking correctly from knees to shins, hips, knees, and shins, and feet? So you want their optimal position for the tracking to work correctly. But remember, a lot of people's tracking is artificial because of tightness and imbalances they have. So what would be ideal, an RDL can be slightly straighter in the leg action here as long as the hips are working correctly. It's nice to still have a diamond angle like we do in our squatting or deadlifting, to where from the hips to knees it goes out and then slightly down at the shins. That's going to be a little bit too much. There is acceptable. So it's a little less obvious on the diamond position here, but definitely when you pull up, you don't want those knees to rotate in. So no caving in. Caving in would be minus a point. So if anything, screwing or turning the knees out, there is the ideal. So it's real subtle, but so either straight or neutral in the shin is ideal. Once it gets heavy, they're going to have a tendency to cave in, but really try to screw or turn those knees out. It's going to get you a little bit of the hip external rotation there, help you extend and drive the glutes further forward. So you get your hip extension, and allows you to keep your lumbar spine more extended and locked into place. So external rotate, extend through, if you really see the details in there. as opposed to caving in, and the caving in is going to promote more of the rounding in the back. So you see a lot of this going on. Horrible place to be. Should be an automatic failure. So from the side, you're locked in tight. From there, turning out, you can see how my feet really turn with that. Weights to the heels and the outside of the feet, toes are up. That's totally fine. I mean, it's an exaggeration of what goes on there, but they're digging and pulling. If they're there, weights to the inside of the foot and the toes, that's exactly how it's going to look. If you look to my knees, exactly where I'm at. So that's an obvious transition. You can see all those little subtleties going on just in the feet there. So don't overlook that. Okay, so others. So as the pull goes up, you should be thinking about maybe cueing knees out. As long as those knees don't go wider than the hands there, that would be minus a point as well. So another subtle thing, this is not, we don't do straight-legged deadlifts here. And although I would consider this our version of a straight-legged deadlift, this is the Romanian deadlift, which is a bit different. The knees are soft here, but they're not exactly moving much through the whole range of motion. At the bottom, classically, there is a bit more squatting than say a straight-legged deadlift than I would like. But they can open up and bend, if it allows their hips to come back, you get a nice angle in the upper torso there. It's okay, but make sure it doesn't turn into a squat or turn into a deadlift. So have some tight control of that. So the important point of bringing this up is it's not a stiff-legged deadlift. This is not stiff and locked out. As soon as he does that, there's a lot of pressure on that knee. It's awkward. But most importantly, other than that, is that he's no way going to be able to keep an arch back for that entire range of motion. You have someone with a gymnastic-like ability and flexibility to do a full RDL. If they keep that back locked, if they can lock their knees out and keep that back perfectly arched all the way down, they're a freaking ninja. It's very, our clients cannot do that. So these have to be soft, which is going to allow those hips to turn better to the arch. So these have to be soft. So the quickest way to fix that there, he locks his knees out, there's no way you're going to fix it. So those knees got to be soft. So I wouldn't minus a point for locking those knees out. It's a lazy thing to do to put the weight into the bones and take the muscles out of play and just lock it into place. So minus a point for that. So next, looking at the hips and butt. So they're locked into place. Hips and butt are locked into place, and they're pivoting in space. They're really not going anywhere. They're just, flexion, extension there. So that's how it should look. So there's going to be this flexion here, kind of coming up right to a nice tight neutral. That's the optimal place there. But if he's squatting down, is the point. So in space here, if you draw a circle around this, it should not be really going up or down. So go ahead and get down to a start position, like a deadlift. So his hips just drop down to do the exercise there. So we'll talk about the start and finish of how to set up for an RDL in a second. But let's start from the ground as an RDL. So go ahead and lock it out here. And pull the bar, grab the bar. And do an RDL from there first. Good. And again, one more up. Good. Now up. Now on this one, squat down the butt a little bit. Problem. So again, same thing. The first 2 reps he did, he kept his hips in the same spot in space. This one, again, same way he just did it. So even though we don't want the knees locked, the reverse of that is that he turns it into an actual deadlift. This is not doing the hip action we're looking for. So we're looking for the hip to be able to pivot in space. So is the hip healthy enough and controlled enough to be able to do that motion there without moving up or down? So it doesn't kind of squatting motion. The knees bend for other reasons, but they don't continue to bend as you go down. So next. From the backside. So considering his heels and spine, everything's locked into place. Again, go ahead and come down to the bar. There shouldn't be any shifting as he does. It's coming up all the way, locked in tight. So as he comes down and does his RDLs, he's shifting to one side. Anything silly like that really shouldn't happen on an exercise like this to be a ridiculous error on that. And I would call that an automatic failure, but it's basically minus a point. So any shifting or twisting of the spine or hips would be minus a point. And then finally from the side for the hips, you get a lot of bodybuilder mentality, even some really brilliant corrective exercise guys out there. Their name does not begin with, I won't even say your name, but they like to teach a real hard, aggressive hip extension. To me, that is nonsense. He's going to end up bam, right in there every single time. They do this real hard neutral neck position. They finish like this every time. It's ridiculous. And they end up taking what may not be a very solid structure in one of our spine, and they're firing it forward. That's what you end up getting. So that's not what our clientele needs. They need to finish in a strong, neutral, postural position. That is the finish point. That is the optimal posture to spot down. So again, sure, glute activation is important, but you don't need to overdo that. So come down, come right back up to the top. Bam. That's a nice head finish. One more rep and overfire the hip. Firing it. absolutely unnecessary. We're not powerlifting. There's no need for that excess hip extension at the top there. So go ahead and take it down, relax. I would call that automatic failure again as well, but that's minus a point. Next, the whole point of this is to develop a solid optimal posture with RDL. So obvious deviations that we've talked about many times here in the lumbar spine that opens up, that's minus a point. Thoracic arch, go ahead and set up your position. This is why we don't have people start in the RDL position, because they cannot do this too well. Go ahead and start all the way down. It takes extreme coordination and control to be able to dial this in. Start in RDL position. Lumbar tight. So it's very challenging. You can see he's not exactly perfectly extended there. He's got some rounding in his lumbar vertebrae there. I'm not happy with that. So he's doing kind of the right thing. So bring the bar tight. He's trying to fix that, but he can't. So I would I would start him with a conventional deadlift, drop down, lock in, big chest, smooth the peel off the ground, so we can lock it in, start from the top after he locks it in, then do the exercise. So again, we start with the conventional deadlift from the first rep, and on the last rep we finish with the conventional deadlift. We do not count those reps. That is the safest way. So for number one, for him to lock his spine in off the ground, he's not going to lift the weight with poor positions off the ground, but when he finishes, slow squat, eyes up, slow squat, eyes up, same way. So bending the knees all the way down because he's tired and fatigued, and he's going to be happy he just finished a set. He may have set a record. He's going to set it down lazily, and that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. So respect that. Deadlift number one, deadlift on the last one. So back to the spine. Now that's why we start that way, because it's very hard to keep that lumbar spine locked in. So if you would have lifted the bar like that, that would have been minus 1 point immediately. If you pulled with upper back, which is also more common, go ahead and start back on our RDL position. Now just deadlift it up and then soften the upper back. Come back, sit down, open the back, open this. See, he's well programmed now. He's not going to break down. It's automatic. But that would be poor position. Even though to some that might look normal and neutral, that is a soft position. So that would be minus 1 point. Since he's rounded here, that's minus 3 points. He is an N shape, an upside down. See there? There's no way to load the spine. So he needs to extend, extend, lock, now go down. There's our U shape or upside down. So good. Lock back up. Good. Then so lock it in and up. So minus 1 point for each spot, or minus 3 altogether if they just totally screw the pooch on everything. Okay, take it down. So just postural position, range of motion on this. So we're going to, pick up the bar again, break it down. Range of motion ideals on this. Go ahead and stand all the way up, pick it up. So come down to where your torso is just parallel to the ground first. Right there. That's the bare minimum. So hips and shoulders, that joint is in the same spot in time, or a placement there. So I can set glasses of water up and down, goes back here, come up an inch in the back. That's what people are thinking that position. That's not a full range. Come down even a little lower. Still not there. Still too high. That's an upward angle there. But look at that. Come down one more. A little higher. Butt up. Come down. Butt higher. That's closer. So you can see hips to shoulders are more parallel there. If he's this close, why not touch the damn ground? So once I have the standard, and that's the same problem with the stage of deadlift, is if they're swinging and missing and they're in outer space and they have no reference point, it's not an easy way to learn this movement or know where to stop. So you can either put your foot there to stop the bottom, a pipe, whatever, cue your hand down there to stop them so they have a range of motion. If they're super tall and you don't think it's safe for them to take it all the way to the ground, that's totally fine. I have some clients who are good enough to keep it but all the way down, and they're going below parallel with the shoulders. Hey, that's cool. That's a nice challenge, and they've just demonstrated absolute mastery. Is it essential? Not exactly. But if they can do that, I go with it, actually. So the positions are all there and perfect. But the minimum would be that torso parallel to the ground. Anything above that, I would subtract 2 points, because it's almost the worthless. It's like doing a knee bend for a squat. What is the point? Well, it's not even an exercise. So this here is not an exercise. There needs to be someone on the hyperextension to develop that range of motion 90 degrees at the hip, so they can do that all day long. Then you get them here. But if they can do it over there, they can do it here. That's just poor coaching, and you can't take them from the hyperextension to this. You get anybody who can do 90-degree range of motion on the hyperextension, they can RDL just fine with the right coaching. So understand that, and understand why the evolution of the squat deadlift is there, and it's your guide to help you make this come together nicely. So it's not easy. It takes a lot of focus and attention, a lot of verbal coaching, hand manipulation, but it can definitely come together. So no full range of motion, not coming to parallel, and then at least 90 degrees. I would call that minus 2 points, and that's something that may need to go. If they can't get that extension down, maybe the waiter's bow, you name it, whatever kind of substitution we need to make. Let's see. Okay, next, eyes. Again, eyes are straight forward or up. No way in hell are we going eyes down in this. That completely opens everything up. So the bar and the path of the load is going to follow where your eyes are going. So forward, down, soft there, we're up to finish strong there, finishing neutral. So that'd be -2 points if the eyes drop down whatsoever. So you're already dealing with a C-level RDL at that point. If they make any other mistakes, which they're highly likely to, the second their eyes drop, guarantee it, especially if there's any kind of weight on the bar, then you're almost at automatic, you're at a C or below or almost at automatic failure. So not touching the ground or hitting your bottom range of motion, -2 points. So that, I believe, covers all 5 points on the RDL. Same rules apply if you're doing a one-legged RDL, so no differences except that one leg is coming back. The leg's not finishing down there, you are finishing long and flat all the way down to that range of motion. Knees soft again, you're not locking that leg out and falling this way. So, there you go, perfect example. So that's the 5-point RDL checklist.